Do you feel overwhelmed or stressed out a lot of the time? How would you like to reset your nervous system for lasting calm, focus, and resilience? Today, I'll show you how. Hi, it's Charlotte from Thrive Wellness. I hope you're having a great week. Welcome to today's training. I would love to hear where you're watching from if you'd like to drop it in the comments. And also, how's your week been going? It's technically the last week of summer. I know that I personally don't want to hear this, and some of you might not either, but that's right. August is coming to an end. School is starting next week, and we are going to be into fall here in the Northern Hemisphere very soon. How's that for stressful? In today's video, I'm going to be covering 3 main points. First of all, I'd like you to be able to understand the impact of stress on your nervous system. Secondly, we're going to go through a few essential nervous system regulation techniques that you can start to weave into your daily routine, because I know for me, I don't want it to take an extra 20-30 minutes. I want to be able to use tools that are highly effective and easy to do so that they don't take away time from what is important to me in my life. And last of all, we're going to talk about how to create a daily routine for stress detox. So stay with me till the end of the video because I also have a special announcement. First of all, stress and your nervous system. Obviously, we need some stress in our lives to be able to get out of bed and do the things that we want to be able to do. That creates drive, it creates energy and motivation. When we move into the territory of chronic stress, this is talking about a prolonged state of that fight-flight response that has been there for months at a time, perhaps, or even longer for some people. And this state floods our system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And obviously this response is essential for survival, but if we stay in this state for long periods of time, it's really detrimental. We don't have good sleep, our digestive function is thrown off, often we see changes in energy and mood. It can also lead to things like anxiety, depression, and that long-standing inflammation is a key factor in many chronic illnesses like autoimmune diseases or cancer. I'd like you to think about a time when you were stressed recently. You might have felt your heart racing or your breathing rate pick up. Maybe your palms got a little bit sweaty, or maybe you just couldn't look up or make eye contact with somebody. Whatever it was, chances are likely that you are not in your frontal lobe thinking clearly and rationally. You are likely in your back brain, that survival brain that allows you to stay out of the jaws of a saber-toothed tiger, but isn't really useful when you're reading your emails and getting triggered by little things in your day-to-day. So when you feel those responses in your body, maybe it's butterflies in the pit of your stomach, or eye strain, that means that your nervous system is in this overdrive stress state. And the first thing that I would like to suggest that you do is to start gaining awareness of what triggers you into that stress state so that you can prepare yourself better before going into it. That is, if it's a regular thing. If it's not a regular thing, this still applies because you can start to see whether doing consistent nervous system regulation work has the benefits of keeping you out of these stress states for longer, because your system is going to have more flexibility to move from a higher stress place down to a calmer feeling. And once you're aware of these things and you can start making changes, maybe you do some breathing drills before you go into a stressful meeting. Or maybe you know that sitting in traffic is just going to make you so angry and you go for a walk or do something to dispel that energy first so that you have more capacity before going into these situations, knowingly that are historically things that make you really uncomfortable or irritated. So, after you start to gain a little bit of awareness, let's talk about some techniques that you may be able to use to bring into those situations to make them a little more tolerable so that you're not getting those physical responses associated with them. Our nervous system, for those of you who don't know, has two main states, and this is controlled by the autonomic or automatic branch of our nervous system. So on one side, we have our sympathetic state. Again, that's the fight, flight, freeze response. Could be fawn too in a later stage. And then on the other side, we have rest and digest, and that's our healing, recovery phase. So we can't be in both states at the same time. If you're someone who tends to run on this side of the spectrum, that likely means that your digestive tract isn't working as well as it could be. Maybe your heart rate is a little bit higher, perhaps your blood pressure too. And to be able to counteract those effects of chronic stress, we want to be able to move towards that calmer end of the spectrum when we desire this. So it doesn't always serve us to be there if we're doing a good workout or we want to get geared up for a big meeting or event, then it's likely going to serve us to be more towards that upregulated sympathetic state. But if we're trying to go to sleep in preparation for something like that and we're up here, it needs to come down towards our parasympathetic state. So again, we need to create behavioral flexibility, and doing some drills can be really helpful for this. The first thing that I'm going to suggest you do is a breathing technique that Andrew Huberman has, I don't know if he's patented it or what, but he talks about it fairly often. It's called the physiological sigh. Anyone here a Huberman Lab podcast fan? I definitely am. I would love to know which episodes you like if you care to drop it in the comments. So one of his most popular techniques is this physiological sigh. And the idea is that when we breathe in, and our inhalation is fairly short, and exhale in a long, slow way, that tells our nervous system, hey, it's okay to calm down. So what this physiological sigh looks like is 2 breaths in through the nose, and then a long, slow exhale, like you're sighing out air. Let's go through that a few times together. So 2 breaths in through the nose, thinking about expanding around the circumference of your rib cage, and then just sigh it out, let that air out. Try that a couple times on your own. How did that feel for you? When I do this, I always feel like things come down a notch and I can just be a little bit calmer and more grounded in my body. Did anyone else have a similar response? On a similar note, mindfulness is another thing that I would like to see if you can start to throw into your daily routine. And this doesn't have to be regimented or anything like that. It might just be paying a bit more attention to your surroundings so that when you come home at the end of the day, you don't just blank out on the drive home and just end up arriving at your house. You actually pay attention. Maybe you're noticing something different about your surroundings that you've never noticed before. Sometimes I play that game with myself when I'm maybe kind of tired or not having an easy time staying focused. I'll look around the room and go, I never noticed that before. What else is there here that I haven't paid attention to, but I could now so that I can start to come back into my higher level thinking system? I would challenge you to do this throughout your day, and even if it's doing things like washing your hands and noticing how the water feels and the touch of one hand on the other hand, these are my hands, this is my body. Oh, look at that vein, look at that wrinkle. That's a way that you can start to be more present and grounded in the moment. And that can, again, allow us to shift from our hyper-focused sympathetic state to a more relaxed into our peripheral vision place in our parasympathetic nervous system. Something else that I would like to remind you of here too is being really cognizant about fueling your system. And by that, I mean both oxygen as well as glucose are essential ingredients to a healthy, happy brain. So if you're not eating throughout the day because you get stressed, well, it's no wonder that you're getting kind of tired and grumpy towards the end of your shift. When we can stay hydrated and fueled, whether that's little snacks throughout the day or a meal that stays with you, as well as making sure that we're taking deeper breaths, that makes a big difference in helping us to prevent those mid-afternoon slumps. So if you are feeling tired like that, try some breathing, grab a snack, and go from there. See if that makes a difference for you. And here we are, last but not least, into creating a daily routine for stress detox. Again, consistency is super important here. That's why we're talking about a routine. It's not just create a one-off daily exercise thing that you only do and then you forget about for the rest of your life. Being consistent is how we start to build that positive neuroplastic adaptation within our nervous systems. So when we can have daily practices, and maybe they seem boring, we can always tweak them a bit. They don't have to be exactly the same every day, but giving your nervous system the boost that it needs in the morning, throughout the day, and into the evening can be really helpful in allowing us to have that flexibility between a stressed state here and a more relaxed state here. For example, let's say you wake up and you go to the bathroom first, and when you're in the bathroom, you are washing your face. We can incorporate some mindfulness here without adding any extra time to the experience. Maybe you're paying attention to the feeling of the water and your hands touching your face, the temperature of the water, the texture of the cloth or the towel if you're using one. Maybe you also pay attention to how it feels if you're brushing your teeth. That tooth feels a little more sensitive, or wow, I really taste the whatever it is, mint of the toothpaste that I'm using. You could even brush your tongue if you wanted to. Providing tongue sensory input is really novel for the brain, so that can often be a nice boost to our interoception, that felt sense within our bodies. And sometimes if you switch hands and do a little non-dominant toothbrushing, that gives you a bit of a different experience too, and it forces you to pay a bit more attention. And when we pay attention, we are more likely to stay grounded within the present moment, which is kind of what we're going for here. You can also do some breathing, whether it's the physiological sigh, or maybe you're just focusing on the feeling of the breath expanding into your lungs and exhaling it out so that your exhale is prolonged and it feels like you're able to relax into that state. This can be sprinkled throughout the day too. When I'm in between clients at work, I do my best when I'm washing my hands to try a breathing technique or a calming technique of some kind so that I can let go of whatever happened in the last appointment, even if it was great. It's like this refresher so that I can go into the next appointment with a client feeling grounded and basically able to be more present with them, because I think that's really important. And also it helps me to focus and be better at problem solving in the moment, which is part of most people's jobs, I would venture to say. So throughout the day, you can stack habits together with things that you would normally do. I suggested while washing my hands, but even what if it was even every time you went to the bathroom, or you walked through a doorway, or you took a sip of coffee or water or whatever it is that you're drinking. Find something to pair this to so that it doesn't seem as onerous and like it's going to take way more extra time and energy to remember. And that way you'll just start to incorporate it more naturally, and what fires together wires together. So we can start to use these nervous system techniques and then be prepared for when we need to access that sense of calm or focus that they bring, because we've been practicing them all along. And that is the key here. Once you get to the evening, if you already have an evening wind down routine, amazing. And obviously, we are talking about a regular wake up in the morning, stay awake during the day, go to bed, and sleep through the night kind of routine. If you are a shift worker, this would all be somewhat reversed. But in the evening, winding down, perhaps having a warm shower or a bath, doing some gentle stretches. Maybe there's a book or some nice calming music that you like to listen to, perhaps a podcast. I know someone who falls asleep to a murder podcast, and I'm not really sure if I would recommend that, but apparently it really helps her to sleep. So maybe it's the voice of the narrator. I don't know. I personally think that listening to murder stories would not be the best thing for my system, but to each their own. We're all unique and we can find out what works best for us. But even if you do something that one person wouldn't necessarily find calming, as long as it helps your body transition into that more restful state, it will allow you to get a deeper, longer sleep and wake up with energy in the morning. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if you already have a morning routine or an evening routine. I'd love to hear what you're already doing and what's working well for you and where you might be able to make some adjustments. Today in our training, we covered how chronic stress impacts our nervous system and the body. Also, we went through some really easy to incorporate nervous system regulation techniques, the physiological sigh, the idea of paying more attention and being more mindful, as well as making sure to stay fueled throughout your day. And then we went through how to create a daily stress detox routine so that we're not letting our cup spill over and then having to backtrack. We're keeping stress low on a regular basis throughout the day so that we just are more even keel throughout our lives. And now that you have some practical tools that you can use to bring down stress in the moment, you'll be able to gradually increase the capacity of your nervous system and, again, bring back that clarity and focus that many of us are really striving towards. And now I would like to ask you to imagine how your life would be if you had those nervous system regulation techniques to decrease stress or anxiety, as well as tools that created the certainty and motivation that you needed to go after the big things that you want in your life, the things that might currently be obstacles or barriers holding you back, and had personalized support as well as a community of like-minded people to help you stay accountable. This is my announcement. I'm starting Rewired for Resilience again, and this time I would like to invite you to join me for a 6-week live coaching experience. We're going to be going through tons of different tools to help reduce stress and get you out of that cycle of burnout, if you are there, towards what it is that you actually want to do and achieve in your life. I know for myself, I have constantly pushed myself, overworking towards perfectionism, definitely some people pleasing in there, and it would create big dips in my energy. I would be on this side of the stress spectrum a lot of the time. And obviously, I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. Life is inherently stressful. However, since learning about functional neurology and how to combine this specific targeting and activation of different brain areas with neurolinguistic programming and being able to shift beliefs, mindset, rewire negative emotions, and clear traumas, it has made my life so much better. And being able to communicate with my nervous system and give it the input that it needs to function well on a regular basis, it has been so life-changing for me, and I really want to share this with other people. I feel more grounded on a daily basis. I can do things like this silly video and not feel super stressed later about how it might have gone or what people might be thinking about me. And I can have difficult conversations and not be out of it for days afterwards. I also think my sleep is much better, and I can speak up when I have something going on that's bothering me without going into this deep shame cycle, which used to be my go-to. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but it's definitely no fun. If you are anything like me, I would imagine that you've tried lots of things to manage your stress and move towards what you want in your life. I know I did lots of physio courses, personal development courses, reading all the books, going to seminars, and it just wasn't clicking. But being able to start uncovering these unconscious blocks using NLP and these very powerful techniques has been what has shifted the most. So, we're going to be incorporating the nervous system regulation and the neurolinguistic techniques so that you can clear that stress response, start to reprogram yourself towards a more calm, energized state, and then begin to believe in yourself and create the momentum and the motivation towards the things that you want and actually be able to go after them because you believe so certainly in yourself that you can. And I know it's really hard to probably understand this how I'm talking about it right now, because being able to experience it feels so different and quite difficult to explain. I will just say that this program is 6 weeks of weekly live coaching calls in a group, and it would also include a one-on-one session with me so that we can more uniquely personalize whatever it is that you need to be supported, as well as taking into account what's going on within your nervous system and your special goals or big things that you want to achieve in your life. So if you are as excited as I am about this nervous system regulation work, or you want to be, then I would love to chat with you. Feel free to drop a comment here or send me a message. I always love hearing from people, and let's find a time to talk. Otherwise, if you are in the Northern Hemisphere and celebrating Labor Day this weekend, I hope you have a wonderful long weekend, and I look forward to catching up with you at our Q&A call next week. If you have questions that you would like me to answer, again, feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I do have a form in the Facebook group that you're welcome to fill in with questions anonymously or not, and I will happily answer them. Take care, everybody. Bye.